This is called one of the greatest movies of all time. This is one of the best reviewed movies of all time, and I've never seen it. And yes, I know who directed it, and before we start this review, yes, I think he's a piece of crap, and we're not going to talk about him. Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we are going to be talking about a movie that is considered one of the greats. It's considered to be one of the best movies of all time. It's one of the best reviewed movies of all time. Today we are going to be talking about 1974's Chinatown, starring Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway. There might be some minor spoilers in this, but because I do have to talk about the end, sort of, but I won't really spoil everything. I will say this. I have to be mostly in agreement with a lot of the reviewers that have reviewed this movie. It is a really good movie. It is definitely a slow burner of a movie. And I know a lot of people, even though it's such a great movie, man, they probably hate that ending. It's not your typical movie ending. And honestly, when we talk about the sequel to this, I'll bring that back up. I'll bring up the ending. And why I thought they made the sequel. But what this movie is about is Jack Nicholson plays J.J. Gittes, or as they call him, Jake. And he's a private investigator, and he is hired to follow this bigwig that has to do with water distribution. We're in the middle of a drought in the late 1930s. And this guy and others control the water. You'll find this movie, a lot of the message of this movie is, if you're rich, you're better off and you can do whatever you want. But anyway, he's hired by the wife of one of these bigwigs to, investigate him. She thinks he's cheating on him, and he does get pictures of him with another girl. And, then it turns out, though, that the woman that hired him wasn't this guy's wife. It was somebody else, because the real wife approaches him. And this leads also to this guy he was following to get murdered. And then so Jake is trying to figure out what's going on, who murdered him, even though they're calling it an accident. And there's all sorts of foul play going on, not just with this, but with just a lot of things. A lot of different webs are being woven that Jake ends up discovering a lot of the secrets and everything. I really don't want to ruin this movie. I do recommend it. You can see it on Amazon Prime as of the taping of this video. I like a good slow burner, and that's exactly what this one is. It's a little over 2 hours or so, and the whole time there's just you're going through this movie clue by clue, and after a while you start thinking a lot like Jake. You start thinking, okay, all this stuff around, am I seeing clues? Is this important? And is that important? And you eventually start to think like he does. You may not figure out everything. But you'll figure out some of it if you're thinking like a detective, and I really dig movies like that. I don't like them to make it too easy on me, but if they do leave some breadcrumbs, or they put something in the background that maybe not everyone will notice, but you notice it, then you feel pretty cool, you know? So I dig movies like that. It's a slow burner of a mystery. You've got this character, Jake, embroiled and everything, and I like that Jake isn't like a tough guy. I mean, he does between the two movies, and you gotta forgive me, I watched them within a couple days, so some of the things might be blending together, but he does get in a fight or two in these movies, and but let's just say he gets his butt handed to him a couple times, at least. In this movie, there's famous images of Jack Nicholson with the big bandage on his nose, because the guy puts a knife in his nose and just, and that's their threat. And they're like, next time we'll take the whole nose. So I like that his character isn't like this big tough guy. He talks a big game. He is very smart. He figures out a lot of things, and whenever he'll notice a clue way before any of the other characters do. And then, of course, when someone will tell him something, he's like, "Yeah, I knew that already." So I really did like that. I liked that aspect of the story, and I liked Jack Nicholson's character. He's an interesting character to follow. He's definitely not perfect. He does say some things that probably wouldn't fly in a movie today if the character, but then in dialogue. But that being said, we're talking about a movie that's based in the late 30s, so they're not going to say the nicest thing about certain races and things like that. Again, is it acceptable? No, but as a time period, a time period piece, it at least makes sense. The thing is, he tells a joke about someone from China. It's hard to explain the joke. This movie has a lot of great performances in it. Faye Dunaway's fantastic. John Huston is fantastic. I liked his character a lot because you can just tell he's up to something. You can tell that he's the kind of character that money has made him feel somewhat invincible, and I liked his character. You also get the character. I can't remember what rank he was. I think he was Lieutenant Escobar, and he actually carries over to both movies. And then you have another cop I believe it's his son, is in the second movie, and his son, this cop hates Jake, and then his son hates Jake too. But that being said, Jake gets the last laugh on the son in the next movie. We'll talk about that movie tomorrow. So you have all these interesting characters. You have all these clues that they're laying out. It is a little easy to get lost in the plot of this one because there's a lot of names being thrown around. So it's kind of hard to follow everybody. And again, there's a few different stories going on. There's not only the story surrounding the murder of this bigwig and his wife and everything else, because there's a whole story there about, there's a lot of secrets being kept about, some things that this guy's family and their history and all that. There's just a lot of secrets there. Plus you have the whole secrets of, well, they are basically stealing water in a drought. And what's crazy is where this story leads. With all the clues and everything in a typical movie, and here we're going to get into some minor spoilers here about the ending. Again, I recommend this movie if you haven't seen it, if you like slow burners. You have our hero, Jake, who has figured out everything. And Jake, being a former cop, while he's at odds with a lot of the cops, he can still somewhat rely on them if he needs them. And especially if he has the details and the clues to solve a crime. Well, anyway, he tries to take he's like, I've got all the answers. I may not have all the proof, but I have all the answers. And he tries to take it to the cops, and we don't know who's dirty and who's not, but man, money talks in this town. And they say that this movie shows a lot about police corruption and about how money talks and how money can make anything happen. And you have this hero who in 9 movies out of 10 would be successful and would convince everyone of all the answers, and he would win in the end. Our hero does not win in the end until the sequel. Well, technically, we'll talk about that again tomorrow, because again, tomorrow I'm going to talk about why I thought they made the next movie. But yeah, if you haven't seen Chinatown, if you like detective stories, slow burning detective stories, Chinatown's really good. Again, as I mentioned in the intro, yes, I know who directed it. I'm not going to give him any credit. And I'm not even going to talk about him. So if you just talk about the acting and the story and everything else, it's well worth watching. I highly recommend it. I did really enjoy this movie. But tomorrow we're going to talk about the two Jakes, and I'll talk about why. Now, it's just a theory, but why I thought they finally made the two Jakes many, many years later. Until next time, see you later.